my zone. Let me into my zone. Let me into my zone. Let me into my zone. Please don't let me in. Gon' play that. Take you down, I'ma say that. I need me a couple dollars. Telling you now that's payback. So I pay that. Ask him now what's sage at. I've been going to the top and I got what they not, so I know that they hate that. But I'm on that. All these lanes gonna zone out. And all these lanes gonna take what I did and they twist and they work till I fall out. But I know that, so I keep what I'm doing cause I own that. And I stay in the lab and I kill everything, but I don't ever move, I'm a Kodak. So finally back in my home. I'm working like so much, that's why I have me a cone. Hands to my phone now, just leave it there in that home. Ballin' can't beat me up cause I'm back in my zone now.
Having a great strap, an almost banging wheel.
Cause I'm back in my zone now.
Don't go green now, mate. Let's go sail down.
Ladies and gentlemen, here we go. This is the start of the ATK series. My name is Dennis Page and you join me here at round 1 in sunny South Africa. Of course, we are at Kyalami Raceway. Welcome one, welcome all. And of course, this round brought to you by ATK, the Kyalami 9 Hour, and of course, Motorsport South Africa. Assetto Corsa Competizione is the game that we're using. And these guys are going to be here to find out today who is South Africa's fastest sim racer. We've already done the AM series and we're now heading into the Pro-Am category where these guys are putting on some shatteringly fast lap times. After that will be the Pro category. And yesterday saw these driving to qualify for each of these categories. We've got almost 90 entrants today. And an action-packed AM race just completed. Absolutely action-packed. In the commentary box, the virtual commentary box, I've got with me Tasman, Pepper Tasman. What an action-packed AM race we've had so far.
Yeah, I think the first race was quite exciting, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the rest of the guys have to show us.
I'm so looking forward. A bit more consistency can be expected from the Pro-Am guys, I think, so we can look to that. As we said yesterday, the guys qualified for these categories. But this is what I'm looking forward to. This is where we see the guys really work their way up the ladder and try and qualify for that Pro category. Of course, before each race day, the guys get to qualify and see which category they slot into. And these guys are now, I would say, from position 30th down to about 60th position. These are those guys, but they still are in it with a chance to qualify for the Pro category next week. But don't be fooled into thinking that these guys are slow, because they are not. And someone that isn't slow is yourself, Tasman Pepper. You've been around this track many times. You've been racing Formula W last year. Again, once we get back to racing, back to Formula W this year. Welcome to the commentary tower as you join me here today for the start of the Pro-Am race.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's obviously very different to not be behind the wheel.
Yeah.
And talking instead. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun so far. Done a couple of laps in real life around this track, and
A couple. Just a couple.
Just a few. And I've done a few on the sim, and yeah, I mean, I can't believe how realistic these games actually are.
Insane.
And yeah, it's, I've enjoyed getting to come accustomed to the sim racing thing, but obviously got a long way to go before I can get involved in these races.
Speaking of sim racing, and someone that is accustomed to it is our technical commentator on the sim racing side, Jonathan Benz, and also our steward for this race as the guys make their way around the circuit there in the background. Jonathan, what are your thoughts as we head into the Pro-Am? What is going to separate these guys from the Pro category? Where do you think these guys sit in relation to the Pro category drivers?
Hey, and it's good to be here, man. These drivers are looking fast. I mean, we've just personally been through the AM race as well, and those guys were setting also some great times there. The Mercedes, of course, coming out on top there, and now we go into the Pro-Am, and I must say, the times are looking good. Are they looking good enough to be Pro pace yet? I'm not sure, but this is set to be a good round.
Well, we're going to find out soon enough. And also joining us is someone that's no stranger to the Kyalami 9 Hour, is Marius Roberts. Marius has done many laps around many circuits and been involved in motorsport for many, many years. Marius, are you there?
I must tell you, this is probably the greatest commentary gig I've ever had, because I can literally lie on my couch and streaming onto the television. This is how racing is going to be for the future to come, I think. No, seriously, Ernest, so good to be joining Tasman, yourself, and Jonathan on what is a really cool series. I mean, I've always followed sim racing, but never really been actively watching the streams and the races. And, you know, with COVID-19 kicking in, suddenly I found myself doing that. And I think this has been such an amazing launch pad for taking what is an unbelievable platform and just putting it into more of a mainstream environment. And I think for us to have our own series, 12 races, the best circuits around the world, going to be crowning the best sim racer in South Africa at the Kyalami now event at the end of the year, is just something to look forward to. And today's going to be a cracker day one at an amazing circuit.
Certainly the guys have been thrust into the limelight. I mean, a lot of the guys they're still in their basements, but now they've got a platform. They've got a platform to showcase their skills and race up against some real live races. We've got a couple of real live races in these rooms today, and we'll talk more about that later. But yeah, what a day it's been. Even so far, I think we're live now. We're broadcasting this out, but we've already seen some action today. And I think we're going to see a lot more action as we make our way through the course of the day. We're just waiting for the driver standings to come up so far. But of course, nothing has happened just yet. We're first going to go to an ad break before we start with the proceedings. And we'll see you guys in a couple of moments right after this break. And we're back and we're in car now as we're going to go straight into qualifying shortly. A couple of glitches there. That's Steve Snow. That's the number 23 Ferrari over there. And we were just talking earlier on, there weren't many Ferraris in the amateur class, but plenty Ferraris on the grid here. A nice mix of cars though, isn't it, Marius? A much better.
That is what I find so amazing about this series. Is, I mean, GT racing has become so massively popular, and that for me is why it is so cool. Is that it's cars that people can identify with, cars that give manufacturers an opportunity to showcase their skill set, and it's just always super competitive. And they bring in things like balance of performance to ensure that the racing remains exactly that competitive. And that's even the case with the Assetto Corsa in terms of how these cars are set up. So, you know, you're going to get a car that's going to work well. We know predominantly Porsches do well at Kyalami, but there are other circuits that suit other cars. So I think it's a real great setup.
Well, the car that certainly did well earlier on was the Mercedes we see on screen, or one of them like that. And this is, as you say, one of the series nowadays where it still is kind of a case of race on Sunday, sell on Monday. I mean, these are cars that people can go out and buy similar versions of these cars, and lots of manufacturers are thankfully coming on board. We've seen over the years, many manufacturers have dropped out of top flight motorsport, but not this. More of them are coming back to GT3 racing.
Yeah, I think it's because it's also, you know, a lot of the racing GT3, there's a variety of series around the world, and a lot of it involves gentleman drivers. So wealthy businessmen that bring in a semi-pro driver or a pro driver, and they race in the endurance, the 1 hours, the blunt GT series, those type of things. So it's great, but I think exactly what you said, for the manufacturers, it's a fantastic series. I mean, the Intercontinental GT Challenge with those 5 rounds last year was the first time we had international racing back in South Africa. And
thankfully.
Amazing, and what a lineup of drivers. So I think it's really cool that this race series is racing in GT cars, because I know there are a variety of cars you can race on the platform, but I think this is the racing that is the most relevant for now. And I think it's the most competitive racing, and I think we're seeing some of the best drivers currently in GT racing. And I think, you know, it's going to be tough after COVID-19, but I think these are the sort of platforms that will keep it going. We've seen the pressure Lamar 24 hours being under with your essential hypercars that are just too expensive to run. Same pressure that Formula One's feeling now as well. This is a lot more affordable. Well, actually, sim racing I thought was affordable until I see what the guys are paying for their rigs and the setups. I'm like, oh my word, I may as well go racing.
It just depends what rig you actually get and how affordable this is.
Crazy,
as we were saying earlier on, you can spend anything from 5,000 to 40,000 on a steering wheel if that's what you're after.
Oh man,
Jason van Rooyen makes his way through in the Ferrari, and it's nice to see Ferrari out there on the circuit. I wonder how they're going to do today, as we're expecting the Porsches to do well. We know the Mercedes can do well, but this time there's even a Bentley around the circuit, and we know the Bentleys did well in the real racing, and you're a big fan, aren't you, Marius?
Oh, but I mean, Taz, just to bring you in as well. I mean, obviously your brother. What a cool story for South Africa. If we think that little brat pack. I mean, you were part of it racing Polo Cups. Those guys, all factory drivers, Bentley, Audi, BMW, amazing. And for them winning Bathurst this year, I'm sure it's a highlight for your brother. But they were so fast last year, and then were a bit baffled that they just didn't have the pace in the race. So let's hope maybe that changes this time.
Yeah, I mean, I think they had overall pace, but they had a little bit of bad luck at Kyalami on hour with pit stops and stuff like that. So I think they still could have done well, and I'm sure the Bentley out here today is going to show us what they can do too.
But obviously they're from the Rinaldi Racing Ferrari there. That car, of course, driven by another South African, David Peddle, the 333 Rinaldi car, this time piloted by Jay van Rooyen there, as we wait for qualifying to start. And we're going to go straight into qualifying shortly as the Porsche makes its way out onto the track. Now, the first car makes its way out and the others follow. So far, nose to tail as they make their way into the first corner. And earlier on in the first race, speaking of first corner, lots of first corner action in race 1. And I expect some more first corner action here today. Earlier on, Tasman, you were saying earlier on, one of our phrases that we've adopted now is one that you brought to the table about what they do what you would do in that first corner.
What, something about lunging into the
yes.
You obviously got to be careful, but if the opportunity is there, you need to go for it.
Yeah, and Marius, you were mentioning many different lines to take into turn 1. Does that mean that the overtaking opportunity is there, and it doesn't really matter where the opposing car is? There could be a way that you could get an advantage coming out of that corner.
I actually find it as interesting to hear your opinion here as well. I just don't think it was as great an overtaking area as everyone thought it would be. Sure, there's a long straight, so if you get the draft right, but it's also quite an easy corner to defend. So if the guy doesn't get the pass done early enough, you can actually take a very interesting block line through there. And it's quite difficult through the direction changes to actually get a pass done onto the old start-finish straight. So, yeah, I think there's just a lot of different lines. There's no perfect line through there. You want to keep it tight on here, as we can see. You want to keep it tight here so it can open up the turn to the right, and you can really attack that. So there are a lot of different ways through turn 1.
Yeah, many ways to skin a cat as the Porsche makes its way through. Now, this is, of course, qualifying now as the Bentley. Oh, it's a big car, that Bentley, isn't it? Makes its way into that right-hander. And this corner over here, I've been through that corner, sitting passenger with Sheldon van der Linde. It's how much downforce gets generated by these cars. It's just insane how these cars generate that kind of downforce. We've got Ferrari now on track over here, the number 9 Ferrari, and the number 109, that is Snow there, Steve Snow in the number 109 Ferrari, warming up those tires, getting ready for his hot lap. And I wonder what's going to happen now. 142s is what the guys were running earlier on. 142s is what the guys were running earlier on. We see Adrian Duplessis in another car, one of my favorites, the NSX. And we don't know if any of these cars, what the pace is going to be at this stage. It could be anybody's race. We're not sure who's going to go into pole position. These guys qualified yesterday to make it into this class. But as we saw with race 1, everything went on its head.
Yeah, I just think, we're all sitting in a little bit of, as commentators, in a bit of the dark here because, he's obviously found a new line through the fence there. We're obviously all sitting in the dark here because we're not commentating on racing drivers that we've watched for many years and we can put all the stats and data and files. These guys have been racing for many years online sim racing. So for us, we're going to get to understand who they are, learn a little bit more about them as the season progresses. They're 12 rounds. So obviously for us, it's our first look at these guys as commentators. And I was so blown away in that amateur race. Just with the consistent lap times and spot on lines. I mean, like, wow, really, really good racing. And I'm just expecting that to ramp up now as we move into Pro-Am and obviously later this afternoon going into the pros. This is the real deal. You know, these guys know what they're doing, and it's a big passion and love for them. So it's awesome. Makes for great viewing.
Yep, Duplessis just spinning out there earlier on as Raymond Duggan makes his way into second place there with a 143. And the pace is not that quick at the moment, but that's only the first lap. Raymond there in the Porsche, followed by the Mercedes-Benz. So far, it looks like a Merc on the front line, Jabé on the front row of the grid so far, as we see once again the Porsche understeering through that left hand. And you were saying earlier on, these Porsches are actually set up to understeer.
Yeah, like I drove the Porsche around Kyalami on this game, and I found it was actually pretty stable. And then I drove it around Zolder, and the car was uncontrollable. I couldn't control it. Like, it was very tail happy. So I think different tracks suit different cars, like we were saying earlier. So it's going to be interesting to see who wins at what race.
It's so insane that they've been able to do that, been able to sort of make these cars adapt in such a way that it's going to be different at each track. The Porsches, we know, have a real-life advantage, and it seems that even here on the game, they also have an advantage around the circuit. We saw earlier on the two Porsches were doing really, really well, running in the top three. Unfortunately, both of them getting knocked out, taking each other out earlier on.
Just like real life.
Yeah, just like exactly the same place, wasn't it, Marius?
Yeah, top of the tabletop, Luke Tandy running into the back of the leading Porsche at last year's 9 hour, and he still went on to win the race. But yeah, the ultimate mistake. But I think that is what makes this so exciting for me as a guy that's always been in traditional motorsport. I think
the Brody goes sideways and clashes there with the Audi. Sorry about that.
On the power a little bit earlier, coming out of what we used to call the bowl, and all these tracks corners obviously have their new names, but getting on the power a little bit earlier, I wonder if there's some damage on there. But I mean, it's early. They can solve that. But what I find, for me, legitimately, what makes it so exciting is that they've actually taken the characteristics of a car and how it performs in the real world and recreated that in this virtual world. And I think that is critical, and that's why we talk about balance of performance with the real racing, and that is implemented into the setup here. It's a car that feels good on a fast circuit like Kyalami is what it is, and then when it goes to another track, that's exactly the challenges that the drivers face as well. And Jonathan said to me, chatting earlier, in terms of like a lot of these top guys actually have proper engineers working on setup. So it's exactly what you have in the pit lane. It's
absolutely insane. And there goes the Bentley fastest so far, 142.000, 142 flat there for the Bentley. And just behind him, Duggan in the Porsche, 0.5 of a second down the road. And we're going to go to a replay now as the Bentley goes into the pits to no doubt make some changes and watch these two cars clash over there.
It's a big bang into clubhouse. Wow.
Ooh,
at least when you crash and over here, you don't exactly get sore, do you?
No pain. They should actually connect these guys to the seats and maybe a little electrical shock or something so that they don't get too crazy. But we saw in the I think it was the IndyCar series, where Lando Norris and Pagenaud connected each other, and it's all over the internet now. The racing is getting serious now. The sim racing is, as ATK's logo goes or slogan goes, play serious.
I think it has always been serious, but we've obviously not always taken notice of it because there's been real life racing all the time. And now that we aren't able to get on the racetracks ourselves, this is what everyone's going towards, and obviously every racing driver is serious about racing. So.
Yeah, this is true. Everybody wants to win, but to finish first, you must first finish, as they say. And 142 is still the pole position time. These times not much faster than the AM times we saw earlier on.
No, because if you go back, Taz, you still picked up, probably about 3 or 4 laps from the end of the race, Bruno Cadile actually set his fastest time, which was like a 1:42.5. So, on pace, and that's for the amateurs. But, just going back to what you guys were talking about now, the guys that have grown up in sim racing,
Porsches in the wall there.
You see, we actually spoke about this during the AM race, that the guys are going to be pushing margins big time here for qualifying, so we might see more incidents. But just go back to the point I was trying to make, I'll get there eventually, is that the guys that have grown up in sim racing take sim racing really, really seriously and understand the parameters and how to race. And what we saw when the real racers started racing with the sim racers, it was carnage. And that's why I think the real racers have gone and raced against themselves for a bit just to learn the rules of sim racing. Because there do remain some differences. And like, you don't expect to see argy-bargy and smashing in real racing. And you don't see it in sim. So, we've got to replicate that somehow.
That was the first car that I saw get 2 wheels off the ground today so far. That's Miller in the Aston Martin, pushing very hard there through the second to last corner as he makes his way now. He's in second position at the moment. And speaking of sim races, we've got our very own sim specialist here, Jonathan Bentz, in the commentary box with us, the virtual commentary box from my lounge and yours. Jonathan, so far the pace is not that much different, is it?
Yeah, it's quite impressive how well the AM guys did against these Pro-Am guys. And looking at Isherwood, who's done a 42 dead there. Previous race, we had the Mercedes up, and I think it actually hit a 41.5 there.
Sure.
So far, the pace down in AM was really good with Mercedes right up there. I'm seeing Mercedes is only down in 8th here. Bentley at the top at the moment. Let's hope we can stay there.
Sure, Bentley at the top. We did not see that coming. And an interesting turn of events now. We've got a Bentley on the top there. E. Miller in the Aston Martin in second place. And someone that we saw doing very well in practice the last couple of days, Leon Leroux, now in third place, 0.4 of a second down the road from the Bentley. Leon Leroux this week, we saw Leon Leroux doing very, very well. He's a 26-year-old mechanical engineer from Centurion, and he's driving, and I think it's also the Aston Martin. If you get eyes on Isherwood now in the Bentley, that's a big car right there. That's a big, wide car, and it's not going to be easy to get past, I would imagine.
Yeah, Bentley has very good balance between the front and rear, and it's hard to get really fast lap times out of it, but it's a really solid platform. The Aston Martin, very balanced car as well, and I've said before, when you drive that Aston Martin, it feels like you're driving in slow motion. It's a different experience.
Wow. And again, there's so many differences here as we cut now to Raymond Duggan in the Porsche. He's in fourth place at the moment, 0.5 of a second down, nothing separating him and Leroux. And the gap between the top 10, 1.5 seconds, the spread at the moment. This is much, much closer racing than we saw earlier on. And now we're going to get...
Ernest, it's exactly what we predicted. There were some guys who are running in the AMs that are kind of knocking on the door for Pro-Am, but you're going to have just a massive disparity in terms of genuine pace. Whereas here, everyone's capable of running a very similar time. What you look at the monitor and look at that lap time spread, that is what you will see at a GT race.
Yeah.
You go to the Kyalami 9 hour, that is kind of exactly how it's going to be. The guys are going to be that close. And it'll be even closer when we get to the pros. So, yeah, this is going to be very interesting to see how things work out. Just you guys going on about the Bentleys just made me have such a flashback and a laugh. I got Sheldon van der Linde to take Jason Goliath for a hot lap around Kyalami, and he was standing on the pit wall watching the Bentley come past. It's like, man, surely that's unfair, a car that big, because then is that pathetic that it just puts itself in the middle of the track and blocks everything.
It's like a gigantic car compared to all the others. I mean, it's a big GT car, and some of these cars are small sports cars. So, yeah, a bit of a weird, it's an unusual choice.
But that's, again, Bentley wouldn't be racing here if they didn't have things like balance of performance to even everything out. Otherwise, you wouldn't see the diversity in terms of manufacturer lineup, because like there, you've got naturally aspirated cars now running with turbo cars. So if you go to a track like Kyalami that sits at the altitude that it does, that car's going to have an advantage because it's got the turbo. But, you end up having cars running away with certain races. Now you don't. Everything's close, and like we're saying, sure, I wonder who's going to win this one. It is now because of balance.
It's so great. It's so great to see so many different cars because, with a one-make series, yes, you've got very exciting, very tight racing. But this, again, is race on Sunday, sell on Monday. You've got manufacturers coming in, and it's anybody's game by the looks of things. I don't know which car's the fastest. And even speaking to Jonathan, every single car seems to have an advantage in different places, and then again, a disadvantage in another place. And as we said before, I don't think we mentioned it in this race, is that these guys get to choose one car for the rest of the season.
yeah, they're locked into their car for the season, and I think a lot of guys have tended towards the Porsche because it seems to have a good average performance over most tracks. Quite dominant at Kyalami, but the drivers are going to have to work a bit hard at some other tracks.
Leroux now in third place, they're 14th of a second down. Oh, Leroux slots into fourth now as Duggan gets across the line in the Porsche into third place. Here comes Leroux now going towards the finish line. Let's see if he can get back that third position. No, he doesn't. 42.5 there for Leroux. 42.525. His best time, 42.453. So that's not his quickest lap time there. He's going to be disappointed with that. As Duggan goes into third place, Miller in second, and Isherwood still in first in the Bentley. I'm very surprised to see the Bentley so far up ahead.
But you know what I loved? Like just watching that. You're never going to miss that Porsche, the pink one. Not sure who's driving it. You realize how serious these guys take it. He pulled out of the pits, obviously on his first lap, knew that there was a fast car coming through, stayed out of the way, slotted in behind, warming up the tires. I mean, the race prep, yeah, this is what you see with calling them real races, because it's like feels like a disservice to the sim races, because you guys are real racers in sim racing. But it's just to see that level of professionalism and understanding the rules of how it works. It's pretty cool.
I think we'll see a lot more of that as the categories, as we go up the categories, and especially with these guys, they do seem to be having it together now, although they are pushing very, very hard. As you said earlier on, Marius, because the gaps are so small. Oh, we're there, we see it now. I've been watching this Aston. He's been understeering quite a bit as well. It does seem to be that a lot of these cars are set up not for neutral, but more for an understeer setup.
I think you're going to want that, and I mean, Taz, you can give your opinion there as well. But I mean, I think when you're looking at a race, sure, this isn't an endurance race. It's 50 minutes, so the guys are probably going to do like 25, 28 laps. It's just easier to drive a car that's set up that way than a car that you're fighting every single lap. It's not a 10-lap sprint race where you will go with a crazy setup because you can fight it. But when you're doing 25 laps, it's to be consistent. I think that's going to be the better setup.
Yeah, I mean, an understeering car isn't a faster car. But like I personally don't like a tail happy car, so I do prefer a little bit of understeer rather than oversteer. I find I can control the car better that way. But the faster way is an oversteering car to an understeering car. So I don't know if these guys are going to change their setups much from quali to race, but if they're already understeering the way that they are, they're going to have to look at their setup for the race. Otherwise, I don't think their tires are going to last so well during that 50-minute race.
It's a long race, and we saw some of the tires going off early on. We saw the cars changing and the guys struggling a little bit as the race progressed. We've got Nico Roots now. We've got eyes on Nico Roots, and he's been racing for 20 years, done from F400 endurance karts, main circuit tin tops, nice the hill climb, and is even doing an SA endurance season next year. I wonder if he's related to Richard Roots.
Richard, yeah. I don't think so, because then he would have been in GTR.
This is true.
That's Richard's default. But you had to look at it, missing the apex completely on that little kink, and it's such a tricky corner to get right. You hit that sausage and you're in trouble. Putting off, obviously, want to go and do a proper body lap.
That is one advantage of the sim racing, is that the guys don't have to circulate all the way around. As Roots now in third position, you don't have to circulate all the way around. As per the rules, they can jump straight into the pit lane, and that gives them at least a little bit of extra time, because qualifying is running out. They've got 2 minutes left. The clock is ticking down as Leroux now in fourth place makes his way through.
I'd dig to see that change. I think, if you're going to make this thing what it is, I think if you make a mistake, tough tacky. You can't just hit the default button and jump out. I think they should.
Agree.
My vibe is create that, because otherwise a guy will go for a Hail Mary, crash it in the wall. Oh no, well, poof, back to the pits I go, and off you go again.
And the team fixes it immediately.
I quite like that about sim racing, to be honest. I crash a lot on these games.
In ATC, what happens is, if during the race, if you warp yourself back to the pits, it's considered towing. So you immediately get a towing penalty, which is another a minute and a half, 2 minutes or so, over and above your repair.
But that doesn't happen with qualifying, though.
No, not with qualifying. So
Okay.
it would be great to see that feature added to the game in future, where you can enforce drivers having to drive all the way around to the pits again. It would be great.
Well, Leroux,
Minutes
Yeah,
ago.
yeah, a minute ago, Leroux, as we said, one of our favorites from in the week, early practice, only 0.3 of a second down. And Isherwood setting that banker earlier on 142, and no one's been able to come anywhere closer than Miller, who's 0.2 behind. And you just look at that, they're so close to the edge of the track. I mean, the track limits, the guys are sitting in car in a game and still able to utilize the track limits corner to corner. It's just insane.
Probably less sense of danger.
Yeah,
So there's
that's
this
true.
false sense of being untouchable.
Yeah, there's definitely, when it comes to driving a real car, there's definitely that element of knowing that if something goes wrong, it's going to be expensive and it's going to hurt.
But that's what I don't understand. You know, when you put a guy in a game, I said to him, drive it like you drive a car. I go, is that how you drive your car? Because I mean, you don't. The guys just forget that they've got to brake. They don't know about they've got to turn because it's a game. You know? It's like, that's what I like about watching this. These guys are driving race cars like race cars are meant to be driven, like you would treat your approach to Lucorp. You know, getting on the brakes, picking the right line. It's so good to see.
Very, very professional so far is this series, the ATK Pro Series, of course brought to you by Kyalami 9R, Assetto Corsa and MSA. ATK Pro Series now the Pro-Am category, with Isherwood coming up to finish what is more than likely his final lap and still in the top spot. D. Miller behind him, and less than 3 seconds separates the top 23. This is going to be an insane start, folks. I think I'm excited.
Look at that split between.
Oh no! Porsche spun out into the wall by the looks of things, and the yellow flag comes out.
Check the split there, Ernest, between second and third. I mean, 0.2, and a 2.52. So it's like
3/100th of a second between the two of them, that's a whisker. That's a number plate right there between those guys.
Nicely said.
So here we go. The pink Porsche. That's Mackenzie there in the pink Porsche, 3 seconds down the road. Unfortunately, a little bit off the pace there, but definitely someone that we're going to be noticing as he makes his way through.
I wonder if he lost a bet.
I know, yeah. I don't think you can miss this car on track, honestly.
Pink livery and green wheels.
Yeah.
Beautiful. He's racing straight out of Dubai.
Yeah. Well, folks, looks like qualifying's over with that Bentley in the top spot. We're going to go to an ad break and come back to you with the results after this.
Yeah. Siege. Riley. Taz. Yeah. Set me free and give me death, there ain't no other choices. When I lay down and go to sleep, I keep on hearing voices. Little whispers in my head, man, is you fake or loyal? Rhino water, death is sign, baby, pick your poison. These little demons living underneath my bed, creeping. Know the real, monster lives above them all, sleeping. That subtle breathing in your...
Welcome back, folks, and there you have it. The standings now with Isherwood at the top spot, Miller in second place, and the real-life racer Roots in the Audi in third. 3 different cars in the top 3, and that's what we've come to see today. I'm excited to see this as the session's about to start and count down. We've got 45 seconds left, and I'm going to cut to Tasman. You know all about this. Going into that first corner, are we going to lunge? It's a thing now. The lunging, it's a thing now.
It's definitely something that I would definitely do or look at doing if I was close enough. I'm quite surprised to see the Bentley on pole. I thought the Porsche would be a little bit quicker than it has been.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how many of these cars actually make it out of turn 1.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. These guys are way more closely matched. And Jonathan, are we going to see a warm-up lap here? Because they're on the grid at the moment.
Yes, we're going to see a full warm-up lap where on their screens they will have a green space which they need to keep their car in. So the game will automatically ask them to be either on the left or right of the track, and so it'll be a double wide over the line. And then they need to keep in that green block. We saw in the AM race, the guy in P2 managed to gain a slight advantage by sitting as far forward in his green block as possible. So let's see if anyone's on point with that today.
And also, the first place, the 12-year-old that was in first position, I think made a mistake there and was unable to come back from that and lost that position going into the first corner. We saw plenty action into the first corner in the previous race. I think this one's going to be even more so. These guys are way more closely matched, 3 seconds separating most of the field, and so many different cars with so many different characteristics, all rushing for the same piece of tarmac, that first left-hander.
I'm going to go and say we're going to have no chaos into turn one. Because I'd like to think that these guys are realizing it's a 50-minute race and it's not going to be one in that first corner. I know everyone's more closely matched, but that also means they're probably a lot more experienced. So let's hope they bring on the pro side and not the amateur side going into turn one.
Yeah, they've got 2 choices here, pro or am, and we're going to have to wait and see which one they go for. Of course, the race is never won in the first corner, but we saw earlier on that some of the winner of the amateur race managed to get away after about 2 laps and stayed away. And it does seem to me that some of these guys, Isherwood at the moment is 2/10 up, and no one has been able to beat that 2/10 bracket. So if the car's the same, if the setup's the same, if the car can hold all the way through, he might be able to get away, but we'll have to wait and see.
Oh, but I mean, point 2 is absolutely nothing. You know, I mean, that really is nothing in terms of a race. So I just don't think it's going to be as clean cut as we saw in the amateur race.
Yeah.
So, but again, of course, it all comes down to that start. I mean, the pressure starts mounting now, frantically working to generate as much heat into the tires and the brakes. We're all talking about turn one being so critical off the start, but it's a long run down to turn one, and you arrive there at proper speed, and you need to make sure you've got something that's going to stop. So the guys will be working hard to get the right tire temperatures and brake temperature as well.
Yeah, you and Tasman were mentioning earlier on that, and Tasman, I'll cut to you on this one, that the tires actually warm up with the help of the brakes as well.
Yeah, it's important to get the brakes heated up because it actually heats the tires up from the inside. So not only does weaving help, but braking is actually very important.
Isherwood slowing the guys right up there, and he's obviously done this before. Looks like he's got a bit of a strategy going on there. He's slowing up all the way. The Aston Martin just behind him, Audi just behind that, another Aston Martin there. In the mixed Porsches, we've got a whole mix of cars coming through now, the second to last right-hander, and then they're going to go into the left-hander across the start-finish. And this is where we get racing. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the ATK Pro Series, of course brought to you by ATK Kyalami 9-hour, and we're starting here at Kyalami, the first race of the season. MSA also involved here, and we'll be heading back to Kyalami later on in the year. But first, let's get started. Here we go. We are about to go green flag racing as the Bentley holds everybody up. They make their way, and again, left-hand lane in the lead there. Oh, the left-hand lane's in the lead. Miller's in the lead. They cross the line. The Bentley gets ahead. Side by side they go. Both of them line astern there, through the first kink into the first left-hander. The Audi chasing down 3 abreast now. They're going to make their way into the first corner. Who's going to get that first left-hander? The Aston has a look down the inside. The Bentley tries to close the door. Isherwood in the lead as they go through the right-hander. Now the Bentley slots into first position. Aston Martin right behind. Second Aston in third position there. And Roots going down to 5th place. Looks like a 4th place at the moment in the Audi over there.
We had a big accident in the back, probably in about P10. One of the Porsches got tagged under braking, changing lane under braking, but putting so hopefully we get a replay on that. But yeah, again, it seems like, you know, there's a bit of racecraft in where you position your car in that box, because that would obviously, there's a replay. Oh, that's a big hit. Look at 4 or 5 cars.
Oh, there's many of them getting straight into the pits they go, and that's their race run. And what a disappointing start to a 50-minute race as the Bentley now starts to edge away. And look at that, in the lead he goes, half a second at least, in the lead already as Miller tries to chase him down there. But no luck so far as the Bentley starts to make its way down the road. Wow. I did not see.
You see how well he positioned his car though through turn one. Just put in the middle. It's very easy to seal off any attack because the guy really has to dive up the inside of you. But even if he does, you've got so much area to play there that you can stay on the outside because you've then got the inside for the right-hander. So it's an interesting lineup through there. So many options.
There's a battle there for third place between Leroux and Roots in the Audi, and Leroux in the Aston Martin there. Right on the back of that Audi as they make their way down the main straight. Now the Porsche also now getting involved, and that's Duggan there in the Porsche, so close as they make their way through the kink now. And Duggan has a look down the inside. It's a bit too far back though. Is he going to try and dive? Yes, he does. Oh, he comes from way back when, but it's a little bit too. Yeah, that was a bit of an aggressive move there. That was a bit optimistic. Yeah, I think the Aston with a little bit of evasive action, they're sensing that might have been a problem there as they go past one of the Porsches that no doubt crashed earlier on, very slowly, that Porsche circulating. And the Bentley now with a solid lead. And Aston Martin in second place, Audi in third with the second Aston of Leroux having a look now at that Audi. He wants that third place there, I'm sure of it. And the racing now getting a bit frenetic for third place and further back. First and second, though, have sorted themselves out.
Oh, Bentley seems to be checking out at the moment.
What was that, Tamsin?
I said the Bentley seems to be checking out at the moment.
Running a little bit wide there. Bentley doing well to get away there. Isherwood, again, surprised to see that the Bentley's doing so well at the circuit. The question is, will that advantage carry on for the rest of the race? It's a big car. And Jonathan, do you think the size of that car is going to make a difference to tyre wear?
I don't know. In the Bentley, I think it's going to be okay on the tyres.
Okay.
I don't think the size will affect it.
Sure, it's a big car, but...
Ernest, I'll give you straight from the driver's mouth. You know, when we chatted with Jordan, that's what a lot of people think. Is that it's a heavy car on tyres because of its size. It actually looks after its tyres really well. And that's where they've had a lot of advantage in races in terms of how many more laps they can put in before needing to change. So it actually does that.
Close call there for one of the Audis. He gets overtaken and makes a mistake, almost goes into the wall there. Gets close to one of the Porsches as well, tries to defend. That's Dievold Swanepoel there in the number 10 Audi. Number 46 Audi now in 10th place, losing what looks like 2 positions there, unfortunately. Tries to now, as you were saying earlier on, Marius, tries to now get that position back and does. And gets that 1 position back from the Porsche. Porsche gets harassed by what looks like a Lexus over there as well.
I love that aerial shot. It really gives you a good perspective. You can also see what's happening where guys start making their moves from a little bit further back, you know?
Yeah, our eye in the sky there.
Now, the racing is further back in the field at the moment because the Bentley with nearly a 3-second lead after 2 laps is only racing himself at this stage. This is what we want to see.
This is where the action's at. A few Audis in the mix. They're fighting each other off and holding off the Porsche and Lexus over there. Ferrari also further back. But the battle continues here between these Audis, very close. And it's anybody's race now as these guys have just swapped positions. And the number 46 Audi lunging forward there gives him a bit of a touch. I think there was a bit of contact there as he now tries to go inside on the top of Lukop, down towards the mine shop, gets the position. And Swanepoel tries to close the door. Swanepoel goes back down the inside now. No, they touch. And the Porsche in the background, they're losing it. Into the wall goes the Porsche. And that Porsche is out of that race by the looks of it. Lots of action further down the field as once again they touch and all 3 Audis connect with each other. The Lexus getting involved there. Oh my goodness me, carnage further down. But one car that seems to be coming out on top of all of this is the number 46 Audi of Swanepoel.
This has been an amazing lap to watch because he made a mistake with Swanepoel and fought back all those positions. But this is as well. That the mistake was made by that Audi that collected him coming down the mine shaft. It was actually made going through the Essence, where he just completely missed the second Essence. In the sim, it's very difficult for you to see a guy on your immediate left. Like in a real car, we feel for them. Obviously, the seats wrap around it. We've got our Hans devices on. But that little coming together down the mine shaft was purely him being unsighted. But you should know the guy was there because he kind of tried to slip up the inside of him. So, comedy of errors.
Absolute carnage there, and I'm wondering what Jonathan's going to say about that. Jonathan, of course, not only our technical analyst for the sim side of things, but also a steward for the race, and he's going to have a look at that incident there. A lot of cars got taken out in what is now only the 3rd lap of the race as we cut to Raymond Duggan in the number 50 Porsche there, now in 5th position, heading up the hill and chasing down Leroux in 4th place. Leroux, as we said, doing well in earlier races as we cut to the Audi of Roots, now in 3rd place.
I think Jonathan's going to be very busy in this race.
I think so.
100.
Yeah, I've got a long list of.
He won't be doing much talking.
Hear from you, Jonathan.
We forgot that you were here. You're too busy with your notepad handing out fines.
That's it.
But it's I think having someone with Jonathan's experience, that's what is always so critical in the real racing world too, is having guys that sit there that actually have raced, that understand things. For me, 2 cars slamming side by side into each other down a mine shaft, there's nothing more than just racing. There's nothing malicious about getting to brake or tapping a guy on the rear 3/4 so he spins. That's just
That was late on the brakes there. Speaking of tapping there, Marius, that was very late on the brakes by Roots as he gets closer to that was Roots getting closer to Leroux. Leroux's in the Aston Martin.
Miller in the Aston in second, I think. That's Roots.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's Miller. You're right. The Leroux is just behind that. You're right. That is Miller and Roots battling it out for 2nd position. And Roots making a nice lunge there. This is our man that's going to be taking part in the actual endurance series. It kicks off again. But he's having a look now for 2nd place.
It's just amazing how the drivers choose. We didn't see one Aston Martin in the amateur racing. Yeah, you've got Aston sitting in 2nd and 4th, and like Jonathan said, a really well balanced car. So it's interesting the choices that these guys make. And you said right at the top, what is critical is this is your team. There's no driver transfers. You're not going to go to another team halfway through. This is the car that you're going to be racing for 12 races. So
I heard that chuckle there. I get anxious just thinking about that, because for sim racing, choosing just one car for 12 rounds and various different circuits, I mean, that's a big ask. That's a huge ask as the Porsche makes its way through there. That's Duggan in the green Porsche.
But Ernest, that's racing. That's how it works. And I think because you got so many.
Someone's gone off. You got an Audi off there.
It's gone. Oh, that's a big impact.
And wide onto the curb on the exit
and that's the curb you were talking about earlier on, Tasman.
Yeah, it's dangerous corner. You need to stay away from all curbs.
Oh my goodness.
As you're right, you hit the sausage on the inside, you're in problems. You run wide on the outside, you're on the fake grass, problems.
I keep cocking a smile when you say they call it the sausage, but every time somebody's hit that, Jonathan said earlier, and if you don't hit it square, it's a problem. And there you go. He's off the track, spun it out, and he's way down the circuit. Tries to do a bit of a donut there, and now gets back on the track and rejoins. And that car is looking very much worse for wear at this stage.
I think he's going straight to the pits.
Yeah, and the nice thing is, where he actually ended up, it's literally right across the way. It's a quick commute across the national road, and you're in the pit. So that was all good.
But if you have a look in the top 10, we have 6 different manufacturers there.
Sure, that's insane. And that's the way it should be, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's just, I just want to compliment our director too. I know Isherwood's run away with it up front, and Jason, well done. Great race. But we obviously had to watch action and where it's happening. So it's nice to see the director staying with where the racing really is happening.
What a professional setup we have here. This is like watching actual racing with the various camera angles. In fact, it's better in some ways because we've got access to camera angles we just simply don't have access to in the real world.
Oh, and the commentary team, just unbelievable.
Who is that guy?
Not.
Who is that guy from Cape Town? I don't know who that guy is.
We've been talking for a little bit too long.
Yeah, we've been talking for a long time down here. We've been talking for a long time. We've got Tasman Pepper, of course, in the commentary booth as well. Tasman, here we go down into the first corner again. And is he going to go for the lunge? A bit too far back. We're on the live cam over here, and we've of course got access to multiple different angles here. We're on the live bumper cam now of the Porsche right behind the car of Leon Leroux, the Aston Martin over there. The number 62 Aston Martin getting an eye full of that Porsche in his rearview mirror. The Porsche starts to come close. Leon Leroux cracks under the pressure, then runs a little bit wide, and the Porsche takes 3rd position away from Leon Leroux. He's going to be so disappointed that podium position was in his clutches and now gone to a charging Duggan in the Porsche. Duggan seems to be hunting down Aston Martins by the looks of things.
Yeah, he's been very consistent, and he's been keeping his nose out of trouble, and putting in some good lap times, and starting to tell. And nice to see the Mercedes coming through as well. With Hubert now up in 4th place as well. So it'll be interesting to see how he goes. But Taz, I just when I have a look at that Aston running wide there, heading onto the old start finish.
The old two cars touched over there in the replay, Ferrari and Audi. Oh man, so much carnage further back in the grid there, but up front the guys are keeping it clean. You were saying,
I think that's why they're up front.
Yeah, this is true.
It's because they're keeping their nose clean and they're doing what they need to do.
Just having a laugh if you look at what is now obviously barbecue. We used to call it Nashua 1 and 2 onto the old start finish. Probably the most technical set of corners on that old circuit, that and the S's. But even now, it's not obviously the same anymore. But still, that's an off-camber corner and very easy. Just miss your brake marker. You've got to go left. Car wants to go right, and very easy to run off the circuit there.
What a technical circuit this is. We were talking about this earlier. Now, some of these corners are so unsighted, but speaking of that corner, oh my goodness, another car goes off there, and that is one of the Mercedes-Benz. We saw Mercedes win earlier on AM category, but unfortunately no such luck for the team Mercedes today, as the Mackenzie Porsche comes through now. The pink Porsche, can't miss that one.
I love the fact that the guys can obviously, when the real racing drivers are getting involved in sim racing now, obviously they try and bring through the colors of the teams that they actually race for. But guys, they can get very, very creative. Some have careers in interior decorating. Mackenzie probably not so much.
And I don't think he's got a future in it either, judging from his choice of colors there. So far running in 13th position in the pink Porsche over there. We're going to be seeing a lot more of that later on, I'm sure. But a couple of Porsches in the top 10 there, but it's all Bentley at the moment up front as one of the Audis comes through. And I think that was one of the Audis that had a little coming together earlier on. Another car that did well in the previous race was the Lexus. Let's see how he does in this race here as they go through the S's now towards Leekop in the Porsche, the pink Porsche.
Taz, just from a driving perspective on the circuit, what stands out for you as the favourite? Oh, we've got Duggan up front catching Miller now and putting him under pressure. So yeah, we've got a fine position.
Here we go. This is going to be a move down the inside. This is going to be a move down the inside. Side by side they go into the first corner here now. We've got Duggan going up into second place, but can he hold it though? Tucks it in nice and tight. They come into view. The Aston Martin gets forced wide there. And here now, it's so close. We go in car with the Aston Martin. He's now just slotted behind the Porsche. It's not over yet. He lunges back down the inside as they head up the hill now.
That was actually a beautiful visual of how different the lines are through there. That that little change of direction, you're going from having the inside line to the outside line, and both guys doing a great job giving each other enough space. But Miller had an opportunity for an undercut heading on through the old start finish and just get on the power early enough.
Yeah, I just think that Porsche seems to be on a bit of a charge. That Porsche seems to have incredible pace. So far, the gap now 8 seconds between first and second place, and it's going to be interesting to see if 35 minutes is going to be enough to try and close that gap of about 8 seconds between the Porsche and the Bentley.
I don't know if he's going to be able to close the gap on the Bentley, but he's certainly going to be able to open the gap to these guys behind him, I think.
Yeah, definitely. As they make their way down the hill.
It's so far ahead. It's actually amazing. And 8 laps just opened up literally a second a lap. It's incredible driving.
Incredible. I'll be interested to see what the Porsche can do. Maybe it was held up. Maybe we see a chase on our hands. But as you said, more than likely he's going to pull away from these guys here as the pack behind him now starts to tussle. And finally, one of the Mercedes-Benz now. That is Joubert, Werner Joubert, starting to get involved as well. And Miller now under a ton of pressure with Leroux just tagging on behind the Mercedes there as well. Leroux's falling further back. He's trying to have a look, get into the slipstream.
This Aston Martin seems to be pretty fast in a straight line, though.
Yeah, let's see how he does it. The brakes very late there and tucks it down the inside. The Mercedes-Benz is going to try and get back on the inside. Not enough power there. And the Aston retakes that position. We've got ourselves the race, folks. These guys are not willing to give up any positions. I thought Leroux was losing the plot there, but he's back in it.
Taz, I mean, for you, from a driving perspective, there's been so much commentary around the new layout of Kyalami. Favorite corner for you kind of stands out, and then the corner that is the most critical to get right?
The S's have always been my favorite corner. Obviously, they haven't changed. And I think it is a really critical corner to get right, because if you don't have the run up the hill, you don't get out the right-hander, you lose all that speed going up a hill, and you can lose so much time due to the fact that you obviously, it's first of all, it's an incline, and yeah, I think
Every kilometer an hour lost in that incline is gone, eh?
Yeah, exactly. So it's crucial to get the left-hander really tight and don't go in too hot into the S's, so that you're able to get the right-hander a little bit, or get it flat out.
It doesn't
get up
feel, initially, it doesn't feel like you should stay left over there for that long. But it's one of those sort of sacrifice corners where you've got to sacrifice the left-hander so that you can get the rest of the corner just right.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Here it comes. Yep, you were saying, Maurice.
Any good racetrack with compound corners, but that is what makes a circuit like that so good. It's not just there's the corner, stop, turn, and go. You've got to be thinking exactly what you said, Ernest, that it's like compromise a little bit on entry, so you're nailing it on exit, because that is what is more important. That's what I love about these old circuits. I get annoyed. I mean, I know we're going to Paul Ricard later on in the season.
Not your favorite.
Yeah, I just hate these Harriman Tilke computer designed circuits where, I mean, it could be just a parking lot in a shopping center that they've just put lines on. These old tracks followed contours.
There's a battle happening further back between the Porsches as one of the Porsches gets overtaken there. Oh, man, there's so many little tussles happening over here. And as you said, Marius, this circuit allows for that. It allows for the nuance of each corner to be exploited, and for the drivers that are good at exploiting those nuances to be able to get that.
Oh, we've got a good mix of tracks. If I just look, I mean, Bathurst, obviously, when I was interviewing the drivers at Kyalami 9 Hour last year, and it was a standard question to all of them. Bathurst was in every single one of the drivers' top 3 because it's so unforgiving, where it's that the risk versus reward is what makes it so real. So that's cool. And so another circuit like Spa, absolutely amazing. Monza is in Silverstone. Tasman, you've driven Zandvoort as well, which is also a really cool track.
No, actually, I've driven Zolder, so that's also quite an old school track with no runoff, and actually, it's a really exciting track to drive. But I mean, you can't make any mistakes because there is no room for error there.
I ended up in the sand at turn 1, went in far too hot on cold tires. Older is that through those S's over that climb, that blind, and you don't know where the corner ducks off to the left. It's an amazing circuit, but so much character and heritage on those old tracks. You've driven Zandvoort as well, which just looks amazing. I haven't had the privilege either.
Well, we've got 12 rounds this season, and we'll be heading all over the world. I think somebody spun out further back as well. We've got eyes on Michael Heschler, who in practice was looking good this week in the Audi, but now on a relatively slow pace, 144s and 145s. That's not going to cut it in this grid. He's right at the back of the grid at the moment, 24th position.
I wonder we lost there. If that was Nickel in the Merc that went off. It's caught a glimpse of that in the background.
Yeah, it looks like it. It looks like it was either Nickel or Hill. Somebody's gone off there in the background, but further down the grid as this tussle continues now. And as we said earlier on, it doesn't matter where you're racing, you've always got to race in this field. Oh, the Ferrari runs really wide, getting some pressure there from Heschler. And the Ferrari now the inside, but Heschler's going to go all the way around the outside to reclaim that position.
We can see why Jonathan's been so quiet. He's been issuing out some got a 15-second that gets added to the time at the end of the race. But more critically, up in 8th place, Swanepoel with a 5-second. I mean, it sounds like a lot, but over the course of a 50-minute race, maybe not too bad. But if you look at the gap, the person in 9th place is 4 seconds off of him, so definitely losing a place now. But there's still enough time. Tasman in a race against 30 minutes to go. You've been given this penalty. Difficult to get that out of your mind and just refocus on the race, because it's not all over.
Yeah, it isn't over until the race is over. I mean, all those guys in front of them could have a crash or something could happen. They could also get a 5-second penalty. So, I mean, you can't ever give up. You've got to go until the checker flag gets given.
Yeah. Speaking of going to the Speaking of going until the checkered flag gets given, Nico Rutz chasing down the Ferrari in 6th position. That's Hendricks, Noor Hendricks in 6th position there, all over his back bumper, and they're both weaving and bobbing side to side there. The Audi goes on the outside, the Ferrari down the inside, and they both run a little bit wider. Oh, the Audi gets a bit sideways, and Rutz 2 seconds off his earlier pace. I wonder, he must be pushing so hard now after that incident earlier on in the wall. I wonder if that car's still damaged. He's definitely not on his early pace, but he is pushing hard, trying to catch up with the rest of the pack.
This is quite a bizarre thing, Taz, your input there as well. I mean, the Ferrari went completely defensive, so I thought Audi's got it done. That's just simple. Stay on your line, brake earlier so you've got the undercut, but he also outbraked himself, so that was a bad opportunity for an overtake there that was squandered.
Yeah, but he also would have got a penalty for that. There's only so many times you can go from side to side on the track approaching the next corner. So, in real life, I think he would have been docked some seconds there.
Unless you back step and then you're allowed to.
Oh, Max Verstappen getting a couple of buys there. Always. I wonder if they're giving him the same privileges in sim racing.
Oh, no, listen, there's been heated debates. I mean, I actually had a chat with Dazzy's brother Jordan and with Calvin and Sheldon a couple of weeks back, did a little podcast, and it's actually, there has been fierce banter, and they're obviously all sitting on Discord while they're racing, and the comments that are flying backwards and forwards started getting a little bit heated, because they're racers, they're competitive, and like you mentioned earlier as well with the NASCAR stuff or the IndyCar, the guys are taking it seriously now.
Yeah, of course. We've got Werner Joubert coming through now in the Mercedes-Benz, and this is serious stuff. As the ATK slogan goes, play serious. And these guys are here to win, and it doesn't matter if you're racing a real car or a simulator, you're still racing.
Yeah, sure. Taz.
We've got the replay coming now. See some more action up ahead. Here we go. We've got 2 Porsches tussling it out here. These guys have been going at it lap after lap, and they touch. Oh, and unfortunately, that one Porsche gets the short end of the stick there.
Jonathan was busy again, for sure, because that was just a little tap on the rear under braking. It's so easy to get the car rotated there when you're already on the edge under braking for.
Yeah.
Turn to what we used to call the players are going to be shed there for sure.
Indeed, as we make our way down the mineshaft with Werner Joubert in the number 72 Mercedes-Benz there. What a stunning car. Maybe the number 72 paying homage to 722, of course, driven by the late, great Sterling Moss.
I just love, that car looks so, the car looks so menacing, way he's done it with that map. It looks really, really cool.
I've got to say, I'm not a fan of the Aston Martin livery we're looking at now, though. I'm not going to lie.
I'm also not a fan of this.
And that's the best looking car here. That's the best. He's taken the best looking car here and made it probably the least best looking car. Sorry about that.
I love the color coding with the rims, though. That's my favorite.
I'm gonna say it. We got the Boxberg special Aston Martin over here. But
I don't think he's gonna be our biggest fan of this.
Look, he's on the pace. Miller on the spot of the Ferraris there off the track.
That's a back.
Looks like.
Awesome.
And he's one of the back markers getting overtaken there by. Go to the live cam, getting overtaken now by the Mercedes-Benz. And we thought the Porsche would get away, but not so much. Not so much. The Porsche still within eyesight of Miller in the Aston Martin over there.
There's under a second there, so there's still a lot of racing with 25 minutes. 25 minutes to go. But Taz, it's just quite cool. I was thinking, you're watching guys going door to door, and it must be such a big change for you. After all those years, literally racing Polo Cup with no mirrors, because your mirrors were never working after one lap. They were either broken off or
taken off at the start, 100% guaranteed every time.
Totally. You can't see a car, you can just hear a car, you just don't know where they are. The W series, where obviously can't drive in that same way, being open with.
Yeah, it is very different. I started in karting, so it was the same kind of concept. Then it went into Polo Cup racing, where bumping is allowed.
Yeah.
So and then
Rubbing
coming
is
back-
racing according to Polo Cup.
Yeah, exactly. Rubbing is racing, but yeah, they take a little bit far sometimes, I think. And then, going back into the single seater, you can't get near anyone because you can't actually touch each other. It will launch you in the air, and you're obviously not going to finish many
No.
races.
You've had experience, racing with single seaters previous Formula Volkswagen, if I remember correctly, in the old days. But it must be something that takes a bit of getting used to, trusting the level of downforce
Sure.
in those cars. The speed you can take through corners is just unbelievable.
Yeah, that's where I struggled most last year. I mean, every race got better and better and better, but you just got to trust the car so much. The Formula Volkswagen was obviously a very long time ago, but it also didn't offer so much downforce. It was more mechanical grip than downforce.
And it's such a weird handover when you go from mechanical grip to using the downforce because you've got to add more speed. That's the only way you get that downforce, isn't it?
Well, exactly. You just got to know that you can go through that corner flat out and everything's going to be alright. It's like allowing your brain and your foot to work together is the hardest part. So that takes a lot of getting used to, and yeah, I've still got some work to do, but we'll hopefully eventually get there.
Every corner is like Potters, eh?
Every time, without a doubt.
Commitment.
Yeah.
Full commitment every time. And I've, as I said earlier, and I sat with Sheldon in one of these cars, and the downforce in these GT3 cars is just, it's beyond belief. I just couldn't believe how fast he was going through some, especially the S's. It's just insane, and it's full commitment. And what's also weird with the downforce is as the speed picks up, the downforce gets more. So what happens when you start getting to the exit of the corner, the grip starts arriving as the car exits the corner.
Yeah, I mean, and to get your head around the concept it's quite daunting. So I drove a GT3 Ferrari 488 2 years ago, or 1.5 years ago, and the speed in these cars is like, I can't even explain it. It's
insane.
Yeah, it's crazy. And like you said, you just have to literally just trust that the car's going to do what you want it to do.
Yeah.
Well, the corner, Ernest, that we saw now, I mean, you talk about Sheldon and the GT3 cars, I mean, going through Sunset, I think probably the biggest eye-opener there, because, for most of us it would have been a little, lift on the way in and wait before you start coming on the throttle. And you don't have to. It's like...
No, you don't have to. Actually, I was thinking about the DTM car. It was my mistake. It was one of the DTM cars, yeah. But yeah, you don't have to. You can just pin it. Absolutely pin it through those corners. It's insane. But speaking of pinning it, we've got Miller here chasing down that Porsche, which we thought was going to get away. 7/10 the gap now, and both of them really stringing solid laps together now. But I wonder if we're going to see a battle happening in the next couple of seconds between the not so stunning Aston Martin and the green Porsche up ahead.
Well, what's going to happen now as well, Ernest, if you look just ahead, these guys are now thick into the back markers, and these are guys who are running way off the pace, are having their own back. As a driver, coming up to two guys that are going door to door in their own world, they haven't seen blue flags, they don't know you're coming. That really can go wrong. It's so easy for back market to put a wheel wrong, and that's the end of your race. So there's still a lot of racing to come, and I've just noticed, up front, the lap time has kind of stayed at around 9.5 seconds with Jason. I think he's doing the perfect job here. It's actually come down. It's 8.5 now. He's doing a great job in just saying, slow down, chill, let's get through the back markers. I don't need to be attacking every lap like it's a qualifying lap. Rolling corners a little bit, so he's really done a good job.
He's got 8 seconds, which effectively gives him almost a second a lap. We've got Noor Hendricks, the first of the Ferraris, in 7th place, now sliding his way there through that right-hander, and almost getting a bit of a moment there. Being chased down by Swanepoel in the Audi, who's just 0.8 of a second behind, with Roots with the, I would suspect, damaged Audi just up ahead. This is a hard-charging Ferrari we're looking at right now.
But you remember a few laps back, Ritz and Hendricks had that almost coming together through turn 1. So finally got past him. And now that he's got past him, he's actually opened up quite a massive gap. So he's on a bit of a recovery drive after making that horrible mistake, going through Cheetah, and he was lying in third or fourth at that stage. So
what a pity. It just shows you anything can happen in racing, and it usually does, as we get eyes now on Breed in another Porsche we saw having a coming together now, and you can see with the damaged bodywork on that car. Some of these cars have been rubbing quite a bit in what's only been 18 laps of racing, coming up towards that stunning looking Lexus over there in 11th position of Wentworth.
It's Cornet Breed who said that he's been, was reading his bio, that he's been actively involved in sim racing now for 2 years. So I think such wonderful opportunities now for guys. Stuff that used to be fun becomes something that you really can take seriously. And I think series like this is going to do wonders to elevate sim racing. Having Motorsport South Africa endorsing something like this says a lot about where motor racing is going.
But it's nice that the actual races, or real races as you'd say, are actually combining with the sim races. I mean, it's nice for you to compare the two, because obviously they similar in a lot of ways, but also very different.
Yeah, there are many sort of similarities, there are many ways where they connect. But as you were saying earlier on, Tasman, it's not the same thing, especially when it comes to the feel of the car. You've got to dial in a very different way when it comes to sim racing.
Yeah, I mean, in an actual car, you can feel the car a lot more than you can in a sim. I mean, in a sim, you only feel it through the steering wheel.
Yeah.
So it takes some getting used to. And when you've been racing for so long and you kind of have that feel of the car through your bum and your steering wheel, it's quite a big difference.
Through the seat of the pants, as they say, as we now cut live through to Miller. Downey Miller there in the Aston Martin, right up behind that Porsche now as they make their way down the main straight.
Amazing what he's closed in a lap. He's literally pulled nearly half a second. Remember what that gap was? It was maybe around a second, 0.7. Now it's down to nothing. So that Aston really is running well and consistently well.
Okay, this is going to be the last joke, but it definitely goes better than it looks, as they catching up to some back markers now. And could this be the moment that Miller's waiting for?
Oh, listen, Donnie's doing a great job. He says he's a workshop manager at Renault, so he certainly will know a thing or two about the mechanical setup that's required for these type of vehicles, and that is what has amazed me most with this game. And I mean, Jonathan can elaborate on all of that sort of stuff, because I just can't believe that you can set these cars up to the degree that you can. You actually need a workshop team to help you, like you do in a normal race.
It's insane. Jonathan was mentioning earlier on, if you're there, Jonathan, these guys have engineers in some cases, the top teams that help them set these cars up. That's just unbelievable.
That's right. A lot of the teams will generally work together, and there's strength in numbers when it comes to working on as a team for a series like this. But yeah, some drivers do pay outside help to come in and set their cars up for specific tracks.
Unbelievable, as the Aston Martin has a look, and now they come up to some back markers, and this is for podium position, as we got 15 minutes of racing left, and more than halfway through the race, almost two-thirds through the race now. And I think that Aston's going to want to make a move as two cars clash, and again the Ferrari and the Audi. Are those the same two cars that clashed earlier on?
They're racing in Velcro. They've been from lap
one. And the Aston Martin has a look down the inside. Aston Martin has a lunge down the inside. The Porsche now on the outside is going to try and cut him off as they're going to the first corner. The Porsche runs a bit wide there. Aston down the inside. Porsche still in front. Well done for both of them, keeping their composure now as they come up towards more back markers. The Aston has another look, just sticking the nose in. They grab some curve and lost out a little bit. The Porsche seem fast out the corners though, don't they?
He lost it by taking that curve. He actually thought about having a little dive up the going into barbecue, and that compromised him. But I mean, he's got the pace. He's running way quicker. He'll be back of Duggan in no time, and he is. And I think it's going to happen here with one of the back markers. If the guys don't get out the way, there's always going to be an opportunity for an overtake. So I think if we stay with this action, it's going to be cracking.
Yeah, I think the back markers are going to play a toll here.
We've got 14 minutes of racing left. Tasman, how annoyed is he going to be at these back markers right now?
That's probably the most frustrating thing that you will come across in a race. I think when you see a back marker coming up, you never know what they're going to do. That's the thing. Like, are they actually going to abide by the blue flags or are they not?
And people tend to get a bit stubborn sometimes.
Yeah, and I mean, also when you're in a race and you've got someone behind you, the worst off is when you catch a race. So you catch a back marking race. You don't want to, like, they're obviously not going to back out of it because they're in their own race.
Well, unfortunately, they have to back out of it. But I mean, a lot of the guys are unsighted in those things. We've got a replay. It looks like Khan.
That's a big. That was a big shunt there. There was a huge shunt there.
Place and a back marker obviously braking a little bit earlier, and Miller and Duggan arriving there a lot quicker than the back markers and tripping over each other. Miller's
fast and capitalizing.
Interesting.
Oh my goodness. That is not good. The back markers getting involved. I hope we can cut to that to see what's happening with Miller and Duggan. I'm interested. There's now a second gap between the two of them, and I'd like to see what's going on between those two.
We're obviously looking at our race leader who's led from the first lap, and the open gap sitting there now 14 seconds off that instant. Yeah, we're back to that battle for second and third. And
look at that.
Miller's running away with it, but now Duggan's under pressure from LaRue in the next Aston.
Sure.
Back into
Duggan was doing so well. He had the pace early on, and as you guys know, once you're chasing, it's a bit easier to chase and try and get your head in it, to try and put your head down and try and catch up again. Maybe he can catch up again, but now he's got pressure from LaRue as well.
I'd love to, if we could, I'd love to see that incident again, because I think Asman was explaining it so perfectly. Back markers in their own battle, not having a look. I know there are flags that get waved, but I mean, a lot of the modern cars now, they've actually got lights inside the car. So they've 24-hour, it'll notify you, it'll flash blue there. So you can't have that excuse, well, I didn't see the blue flag. It's now flashing all over your visors. So interesting to see that, because that was exactly as predicted.
What a pity. I was hoping to see a clean race between those two, but the back markers having another say in that matter as the Aston Martin of LaRue makes his way in fourth position, with the Porsche now within strike distance of yet another Aston Martin. Up ahead though, Isherwood has it all to himself, with the three drivers behind him fighting it out. Get back to LaRue into the first corner. The Porsche doesn't look damaged at all. Porsche seems to be running quite fine. No issues there. He's just got to make sure he manages that pace and tries to stay ahead of yet another Aston. This Aston, though, does look good.
It was a low-speed incident. He literally ran into the back of him under braking, so I don't expect much to happen. We've got a Ferrari parked, obviously coming on the power a little bit earlier.
Across the track of all places.
I don't expect there to be much damage. It literally wasn't a high-speed incident at all. It hit him square on the back end. So cars are really robust, and we'll be able to manage that really well.
Oh, gets it sideways there. But manages to keep it together. And in a Porsche, that kind of moment is very, very scary. Rear engine car, rear-wheel drive. I mean, when that happens in a Porsche, that's not something you want to have happen.
Shame. I actually feel sorry for him, because he was, like we said, solid in second. But how a race can change. 10 minutes to go, he's now finding himself down in fourth place. But with Drew having got that pass done, so
unbelievable.
He just needs to get his composure back, I think, a little bit, and then start hunting them back down, because he was quicker than them, so there's no reason why he can't get back past.
Now, Jonathan, do you the tires situation with cars, do you think the Porsche's tires could go off faster than the Aston's between those two cars? Because he's battling two Aston Martins down. Look at that lunge. Look at how close he managed to get there.
If we're putting those two cars up against each other, I'd definitely say the Aston will outlast in tires. The Porsche is going to, it's been scrubbing front tires with that understeer the whole race, so I think that he's gonna hurt a bit. But he does look fast.
He does look fast. Look at that, braking so late there, getting he pulls quite a lot of distance closer as he gets under braking. So maybe he's still got the pace, but as Tasman said earlier on, he's maybe just got to get his head right and start hunting these guys down one by one. We cut back to the Porsche now, and in the hunt he goes. We've got LaRue up front, Miller in front of him, and of course that Bentley so far up the road now. 14 seconds in the lead is the Bentley. And what a confidence booster that's going to be for Isherwood, knowing that he is that much faster than some of the competition.
Interesting to watch. I mean, for people that maybe aren't following, they see that gap was down to 8 seconds and it had come down. But I mean, that was when Jason was dealing with back markers as well. But then we had that incident, that battle with second, third, and fourth, which has just opened up that gap again to 14 seconds. So literally what you do now is just to look after the car, not do anything stupid, just wrap down the last maybe 8.5 minutes of this race. And what a way to start, opening round with a victory at the Pro-Am. You're going to get some points for that. And then obviously your focus is next week at Silverstone. Make sure that Bentley is now going to be racing at home, in theory, for the manufacturer and in the Pro round. That'll be great.
That'll be interesting to see.
If you have a look, guys, Miller's actually got a 15-second penalty there for that.
All right, Jonathan, explain to us what happened there, please.
Okay, he completely missed his brake points and rear-ended into the back of car 50.
We saw that, but I mean, what was the impact of the back markers? Because as commentary, I just saw those back markers break so much earlier than they're way off the pace, and I think that's what caught them all out there at the tail.
Yeah, it is still the responsibility of the car who's following to drive in a safe manner, taking into account what's happening in front of him. So obviously, car 50 had nothing he could do about that. It's definitely hurts Miller, but he really needs to be more careful with rear-ending other cars.
Yeah, listen, I mean, it's going to be really tough for him. I think all he's got to do now is not worry about third place, but just make sure to protect from whoever's lying in fourth, and he's got a 15-second gap over that. That's kind of what we've got to do.
That's a tall ask with just 7 minutes to go, and our steward over here is not showing any mercy, eh?
No, but I mean, if you have a look, he's got a bit of a gap. So I mean, if he can work on building that gap to make sure he can secure third, it'll be fantastic for him. Otherwise, it's going to be a sad day.
Yeah, it would be such a sad day throwing it away like that. Yeah, currently running second on road, but with a 15-second penalty. It's the first time we see one of the front runners with a penalty like this. And
it's going to about fifth or sixth, I would think. I mean, my man's so great. I went to school in PE, so for that.
It's going to push him way down the order. And speaking of order, Isherwood in the front over here, insanely fast in that Bentley, and just completely running away with this one. The car that I certainly didn't think would be this fast around the circuit. Desmond, you cheering your brother's avatar on there?
Yeah, guys, I'm a little bit biased, so you shouldn't be asking me. I'm a big fan of this Bentley.
So what else does what does your brother say about this car? What has he been his feedback to you behind closed doors about this car?
Sure, I think they've like struggled a little bit with setup leading up to it, but the new generation car, he actually really enjoys driving it. He says it reacts the way they want it to react, and it is like very consistent. Like Jonathan was saying, it's actually really good on its tires as well. So they might not always have outright pace, but during the long endurance races, that's where they seem to be obviously better off than some of the other brands.
Yeah. Well, you know, you must also, I mean, like when I chatted to him, the best thing is, I mean, like if things continue like this, they could be the only guys with a race win this year. You know, if you consider how they started in Bathurst and then there was no round two. So,
yeah, that is true, eh? We were actually talking about that the other day. I mean, you start with your first race, you win it, and that might be the only race you actually race this year.
Yeah, that's such an interesting time. Oh, the Ferrari goes straight over the curbs there, tries to get past. These guys are really going quite wild as they head now into Leeuwkop, now coming towards the mine shot. Ferrari trying to have another look down the inside, losing that position again. And this is a battle with snow. And I think that's Gleed there in 16th position. But Gleed's already got a 20-second penalty as Ferrari goes past him there into 16th position.
There's just thinking about Bathurst and just Sterling Moss. Your dad was so stoked with the fact that was a trophy that Sterling Moss had won, the Bathurst. trophy, and then now Jordan's name is on that trophy. It's amazing memory.
Yeah, I mean, what a race to actually win, hey?
Yeah, that is literally one of the bucket list races to win and have on the CV, and he's got that now. No one can ever take that away.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the Pro Series Kyalami race. This is the race to win, guys.
Yeah, back to the action here as we look at the hill now in 22nd position in that Porsche over there, the number 512 Porsche chasing down the Audi of Nickel. That's Hischler in the Audi up front. And Hischler was looking so good at the beginning of the race, but these guys have been bumping and barging each other all the way down the order. And this has really been a race of trying to keep it clean, trying to keep it tidy as to stay in the top 10. I think the top 10 guys are the ones that have, for the most part, kept all four wheels on the black stuff.
Yeah, and the top 10 guys are also the guys that are going to be scoring points. Just a reminder of how the whole thing works. Obviously, 40 points allocated per race weekend. So there are 30 pro drivers, there are 30 pro-ams. So only the top 10 pro-am are going to score points. And next week, these guys could find themselves racing in pros. It's a seeded qualifying on the Saturday to see who slots into what category. So it really keeps it active and open and fighting chance for everyone with every round. I think it's a great format.
Fantastic format. Paul Glee there now in the Aston Martin on screen. He's got a 20-second penalty. Having a look at Snow once again there up front in the, I guess that's Riddle, sorry, in the Porsche over there. And Glee coming through, another stunning looking Aston. Only 2.5 minutes of racing left, guys. 2.5 minutes of racing left. And let's cut to the front runners. I'd like to see what's happening in front there, because we saw those penalties for our second place man, Miller. He's going to want to make sure he gets 15 seconds ahead of as many people as possible. He's now got a 4-second gap in LaRussa. That one's gone. 6 seconds.
No, he's lying in 7th, so he's safely in 7th. So it's good. Ritz will get him as well. I just want to check what that time is. 10, that's 11. So he's going to finish in 6th at this stage, safely in 6th. So any other lap time improvement he can make is just going to gain him another position.
Yeah, he's got to be pushing hard now. He's got to be making sure to keep it tidy and push hard and try and finish as far ahead as possible. 27 laps completed by your leader. I almost said your winner, Isherwood. But as we saw earlier on in the AM race, an incident almost taking place in the second last corner. It's not over till it's over.
Yeah, please don't give him the commentator's curse.
Commentator's curse. That's my favorite thing. I love the commentator's curse. Because it does seem like it works. It really does.
Well, it did in the last race, didn't it? So let's just leave it until the ticket flag comes out.
Until the flag drops. Of course, this is the ATK Pro Series. My name is Ernest Page, joined by Marius and Tasman Pepper over here. We've got Jonathan in the commentary. Can I call it the commentary box? The commentary lounge? I'm in my commentary lounge at the moment.
I'm also lounge.
I'm in my race seat.
The commentary seat. Of course you would be in your race seat, as Werner Joubert makes his way through in 5th position. They're chasing down Duggan now in the very fast Porsche early on, and this could be a race to the finish now. This is for position. The battle for 4th place between these two, just 0.7 of a second now, as Joubert, who's been hunting down these guys all the way in the number 72 Mercedes-Benz, right on the tail of Duggan now as they come up to what could be the last or second to last lap.
Oh, this is going to be very, very interesting, because things could still change for Miller, who is now 2nd, but remember that 15-second penalty. It'll be interesting to see what happens here, because it could still end up playing in his favor.
Yeah, they're coming up to the back markers now, and that Porsche does seem to have been losing pace over the course of this race, and now getting caught by a car that seems to be picking up pace on the course of this race as the Bentley comes through. Now the last couple of sections are the final corner for the Bentley.
Well done.
Is the checkered flag out? Let's have a look and see if the checkered flag is out. The Bentley weaves side to side. He goes up to the wall. The flag is out. The Bentley crosses the line, full 15 seconds ahead of Miller, effectively 30 seconds ahead of Miller because of that penalty. And the Bentley takes 1st position as we look at the battle for what is 4th place on track. Oh, side by side they go. The Audi, the Porsche and the Mercedes-Benz side by side. I think the Mercedes-Benz might have this one. Porsche fights him off. That is for position. A fantastic move there by Duggan in the Porsche to maintain 4th position, which could promote him to 3rd, depending on the penalties over there. They crossed the line.
Please, can I see that again? Because that is commitment. Cars do not go through cheetah together.
Like that. They do not.
Nice.
That was insane stuff from Duggan in the Porsche there. Very well done to him for maintaining position.
But I think just a round of applause to both Duggan and Hubert there, because they both gave each other space and that they both could do that. So well done. That's solid driving.
Yeah, that could have been the end of both of their races, and that would have ended in crocodile tears, as they say. Ladies and gentlemen, what an end to that race. Even though we've got a standout victor there, still some action-packed racing there, and we'll be right back after this break to look at the standings. Thanks for joining us so far. More action to come after the break.
Let me into my zone. 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 Please don't let me in. Now we're saving. I've been going to the top and I got what I got, so I know that I hate that. But I'm on it. All these lanes gonna zone out. And all these lanes gonna take what I did and they twist and they work till I fall out. But I know that, so I keep what I'm doing cause I own that. And I stay in the lab and I kill everything, but I don't ever move, I'm a Kodak. So finally back in my home. I'm working like so much, that's why I got me a call. Put hands to my phone now, just leave it there in that phone. Ballin' can't beat me up cause I'm back in my zone now.
Having a great scrap and almost banging wheels.
Cause I'm back in my zone now.
Don't get greedy now, mate. That's good. Settle down.
Holy moly, can you believe it? Marius, Miller is still on the podium.
Yeah, listen, I'm very stoked for that, because that's some quality driving. It's so easy to get lost in the disappointment of a 15-second penalty as a driver. It's never your fault.
That's a huge penalty.
It was the back markers, blah, blah, but he put it behind him and he just consistently put those laps together. We tracked with about 2 minutes to go in the race. He probably finished 5th or 6th. But that battle that happened for 2nd and 3rd ended up, they lost like 5 seconds of those last few laps. So
Yeah, I think they were messing each other about too much, weren't they?
Oh, they 100%. So well done. What a great race. But
What a great race.
Jason, unbelievable driving in that Bentley. I mean, he just was in a class of his own.
Absolutely. I mean, so far down the road, I think it was, what was that gap, 15 seconds down the road or something like that? It was just an insane performance from him. And Leroux, one of our favorites, running up to this in the week, performing consistently well and then clawing his way back into second position. But there's only one man at the top spot of the podium, and that is, of course, Isherwood. And what a performance from him. I think all of these guys in the top 3 can be very proud. Jason Isherwood the most, but all of them can be very proud of this performance. Fantastic drive from all 3 of them.
Yeah, I just think what's also really cool, we being new to watching sim racing like this, we didn't expect too much in terms of crashing and bashing because these guys are pro-am, but man, there was a lot more going on. It's also because we had a full field. The amateur race that we didn't stream live earlier, obviously not as many cars on the track, so a lot less incident. But there was a lot of stuff going on that was keeping Jonathan very busy, and not only giving us technical support in the commentary, but also issuing those penalties. Good race, very, very good race.
Lots of action further down the field, lots of bumping further down the field, and the GT racing really does have an exciting element, and much as the front-running drivers are going to hate it, like Tasman was saying earlier, it's coming up towards back markers, it does add a little bit of extra spice to the racing, doesn't it?
Yeah, it definitely changes it up, especially from a spectator point of view, but a driver's point of view, it's the most frustrating thing you'll ever come across.
Well, I'm sure Miller is going to be happy about those back markers that gave those other guys a hard time earlier on, because that allowed him, and not just that, but obviously that driving as well and the racing occurring just behind him allowed him to get that 3rd place. Leon Leroux, our 2nd place man, but there's only one winner, and that is Jason Isherwood in the car that if you had asked me at the beginning of the race which car was going to take it, I most certainly would not have said. No offense, Tasman. I would
have definitely said the Bentley. So I'm one up on everyone else.
Yeah, we should have taken some bets on this one. Yeah. So going into the next race, we've now seen 2 races for the 2 categories so far. I'm very interested to see what the top spot's going to look like or what the front runners are going to look like, because it does seem to me like any car can win at the circuit, Marius.
I think that's what's going to be interesting. I mean, we just, when we looked, we went, oh, wow, cool. Such a nice lineup and selection of cars. We've seen that. A Merca's won, a Bentley's won, so who knows who's going to win next. And the car everyone's talking about that is really strong, the Porsche, well, it hasn't won a race yet. But at the end of the day, it's going to be driver and car combination. Like always, that's going to make the difference. I think if you experience enough and you've got your setup done right, that is what is going to be more critical than the car that you're driving, is setting up the car that you're driving right.
100%. And it does seem to be that with that balance of performance, with the different platforms, as you said earlier, you got normally aspirated, front engine, rear engine, and everything in between. It does seem to be that these cars are different at varying parts of the circuit even, not just the tracks. Some of them are better at corner exit, some of them are better under braking, some of them are better in the fast and slow bits. It's really lovely to watch this racing. I'm really enjoying watching this racing because each car has its advantages and disadvantages. So there is your top three, ladies and gentlemen. Miller in third position, LaRue in second, and Isherwood in first position there. And we're going to be heading out very soon to a break, and after the break we'll be coming back with the standings in the championship so far. What an exciting race so far. We'll be right back after these.
Yeah. Siege. Riley. Taz. Yeah. Set me free and give me death, there ain't no other choices. When I lay down and go to sleep, I keep on hearing voices. Little whispers in my head, man, is you fake or loyal? Find no water, death is sign of baby, pick your poison. These little demons living underneath my bed, creeping. Know the real monster lives above them all, sleeping. That subtle breathing in your closet every single evening. Thought you never see me again, looks can be deceiving. When they hear the sound of the drum, they'll be saying, oh Lord, here they come. Yeah, here we come.
We take play seriously. That's why ATK chooses Omen by HP and Windows 10.
Here we come.
Please don't let me into my zone. 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 Please don't let me.
Telling you now to pay back. So I tell you that. Ask him now what's AJ. I've been going to the top and I got what they not, so I know that they hate that. But I'm on that. All these men gonna zone out. And all these men gonna tell you what I did and they twist and they work till I fall out. But I know that, so I keep what I'm doing cause I own that. And I stay in the lab and I kill everything, but I don't ever move from my code. So finally back in my home. I'm working like so much, that's why I had me a job. Hands to my soul, now just leave it there, that's home. Ballin' can't beat me up cause I'm back in my zone now.
Having a great strap and almost banging wheels.
Cause I'm back in my zone now.
Don't get greedy now, mate. That's good. Settle down.
Please don't let me into my zone. 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 Please don't let me.
Telling you now to pay back. So I tell you that. Ask him now what's AJ. I've been going to the top and I got what they not, so I know that they hate that. But I'm on that. All these men gonna zone out. And all these men gonna tell you what I did and they twist and they work till I fall out. But I know that, so I keep what I'm doing cause I own that. And I stay in the lab and I kill everything, but I don't ever move from my code. So finally back in my home. I'm working like so much, that's why I had me a job. Hands to my soul, now just leave it there, that's home. Ballin' can't beat me up cause I'm back in my zone now.
Having a great strap and almost banging wheels.
Well, there you have it, folks. The standings with Isherwood at the top spot, easily done in that Bentley over there, the number 53 car, getting all the points and slotting straight into first position there. And second, just behind him, Leon Leroux and Danny Miller there in third place. 2 Astons right behind that Bentley. No Porsches in the top 3. Not even an Audi.
Jeez, the UK guys are going to be going crazy because this has been a great result.
The UK is going to be loving this, yeah.
It was a good race. I mean, I still love the fact that, we had that 15-second time added to Danny Miller. He was out of contention and still came back for third, so that was great. But, wow, we didn't see much of Jason Isherwood because he was that far ahead, like after 2 or 3 laps gone. And that was classy driving.
He was definitely in a league of his own, that race.
Yeah, for sure. And Miller, again, probably drive of the day, just simply because of he made a mistake, of course, but as he said, to be able to come back from that and keep his composure, knowing that he needs to gain as much time back as possible with the hard-charging guys with a 15-second advantage behind him, it's just insane that he still managed to hold on to third position there.
And this was Pro-Am, eh? Jeez, we've still got the pros to come.
We've got the pros to come. The big boys are on their way very soon. The next round of the Pro Series, of course, is going to be at the not-so-sunny Silverstone. We're not sure what the weather's going to be like when we get to the UK, but I would imagine it might be raining that side of the pond.
Yeah, it's never good there, is it?
It's beautiful at the moment. The sun is shining in the UK. They're having summer, remember? So we could be sunshine and smiles. But that track layout, we spoke about it during the amateur race. Tasman, very, very similar setup from a car perspective, fast and flowing circuit to Kyalami. Between the two, the guys won't have to make too many changes. They're going to have a good base going into that round.
Yeah, I think they can definitely take this setup and take it there and just do minor changes. I think there's some fast corners, some slow corners, and so I think there's a lot of corners that have the same characteristics as Kyalami does. So I think this setup would be a pretty good setup to start with.
Yeah. Well, in the real world, we don't have server issues, but unfortunately, we're dealing with the virtual world of virtual online racing. And unfortunately, there seems to be a server issue happening overseas. So there might be a little bit of a hop, skip, and a jump. But it does seem to be fine, at least for now, and we're hoping to get ready for the pro race, which takes place at 5 o'clock. I'm excited, guys. I think this is going to be a good one. We've got Essa Jadwat, of course, racing for ATK. So the best sim racers in the country are lined up and ready to go for the big race at 5 o'clock. Oh, so that it sounds like the pro race. We just got confirmation now through the radio that the pro race has been postponed. The pro race has been postponed by the looks of things. So we've got some issues here, but luckily the teams don't have to fly back anywhere. They can keep their cars parked in the virtual paddock for now, and we will let you guys know exactly when that race will take place. But so far, successful pro-am and am race so far. I think things went really well, all things considered, guys.
Yeah, I'm pretty bummed we're not going to be able to watch the pro guys right now.
Yeah, I was quite excited for that. I was actually quite excited.
Up to it.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm sure that's going to be happening very soon. As we said, that it's not like they have to ship the cars back to the UK or to Europe for the next round. We can keep them in our virtual paddock for now. So please stay tuned for news and updates on what happens next. But let's not take anything away from Isherwood at the moment, who's taken the victory in the Pro-Am class. What a race in the Pro-Am class. And if this is anything to go by, I think the Pro race is going to be an absolute cracker when it does happen.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. So
yeah,
hopefully we get to watch that soon.
So before we get to the next round, which is Silverstone, we're going to be having, as far as I know, we're going to be having the pro race. But as I said, stay tuned for more updates and information on that pro race. But yeah, I'm stoked and looking forward to that. Of course, this ATK Pro Series brought to you by Assetto Corsa, Kyalami 9 Hour, and of course MSA. This is a sanctioned event, sanctioned by Motorsport South Africa. Who would have thought that we'd be seeing this kind of racing in 2020, sanctioned by the National Motorsport Authority? Sim racing. It's insane how far this has come, Tasman.
No, it's for me. I'll jump in there. It's for me very interesting. I mean, as MSA members, we actually all got sent a feedback form on who are we competing in sim racing, how are we involved, what is the story. They sent it out to all of the license.
Yes, I saw that. Yeah,
and I think that's really cool because they're realizing that this is a reality. I mean, we do the Motorsport Awards every year, and I mean, at this stage, there won't be Motorsport Awards except Sim Awards, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see seasons. I don't see a season happening. I know in Europe they still think that they're going to get the racing going, but then, I mean, look at the calendar. It is crazy. Every single weekend there is a race. There's massive clashes. The guys. So yeah, at the moment, the one massive positive about COVID, like I said right at the beginning of the stream, is been for sim racing. It's kept us entertained. It's seen a lot of mainstream guys adding some big value to sim racing because these are guys that come with big crowd, like Max Verstappen and those sort of guys, and it just raises. I mean, it raises the profile for sim racers that have spent years doing this out of love and passion, and to see their sport now get to this global level, I think is amazing. And we talk about like David Perrell that races in these series, but you know, Coach Dave, he now sits there and actually does online sim coaching and is the official coach for the Intercontinental GT Challenger SRO Esports Series. It's incredible that it's got to this level, and we are all kind of jumping in the bandwagon and starting to commentate on online racing. I think the credit is to the sim guys that have been there from the start, that have helped develop this platform to the level that it's at, because it's legitimate.
And of course, ATK taking this to a whole other level with this Pro Series. The racing was insane. It was a fantastic day. Unfortunately, the Pro event got cancelled, as with many other motorsport events this year. Got postponed, I apologize. As with many other events this year, but this one is going to happen. So stay tuned for updates. My name is Ernest Page, joined by Marius Roberts, and of course, Tasman Pepper, Jonathan Bentz in the commentary tower as well. Any commentary lounges? Any final words from you guys before we wrap it up?
No, thanks. Thanks for the entertainment, and we're looking forward to some more races.
Yeah, I'm gonna go do some lunges in my lounge.
Jonathan, no more fines to hand out for you, eh?
No, it doesn't look like it. We'll see if there's any post-race investigations, but I think we're all wrapped up for now. There was a fair amount of incidents there, kept me fairly busy, but for the most part, great racing on that we broadcast tonight.
Very impressive stuff by all. The drivers should be proud, especially the top 3 in each category. Well, folks, that's it for now. Stay tuned for updates on the ATK social platforms to let you know when the Pro race is happening. And of course, after that will be the next round at Silverstone. We'll see you guys then. Cheers for now.
Let me into my zone. 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 Please don't let me.
Telling you now this payback. So I pay that. Ask him now what's AJ. I've been going to the top and I got what they not, so I know that they hate that. But I'm on that. All these men gonna zone out. And all these men gonna tell you what I did and they twist and they worse till I fall out. But I know that, so I keep what I'm doing cause I own that. And I stay in the lab and I kill everything, but I don't ever move. I'm a Kodak. So finally back in my home. I'm working like so much. That's why I had me a job. Ballin' can't beat me up cause I'm back in my zone now.